As a huge fan of the Professor Layton series, I could not have been happier to see in the latest Nintendo Direct that a new entry will finally be coming out. Pretty much 10 years after the last one, Ozron Legacy was released in 2013 in Japan, 2014 in North America, so it really has been a long time without any new Layton content. Oh, wait a second. Oh, suddenly my head, like something is there, but it's been blanked out. Oh, I just can't quite put my finger. Oh, that's right. Layton's Mystery Journey, released in 2017, starring Layton's supposed daughter. This was unfortunately a very subpar Layton game, and doesn't actually feature Professor Layton whatsoever, instead posing the question of just where Professor Layton is, supposedly taking place several years after Unwound Future, the last chronologically released Professor Layton game. There's really not all that much in this game that references the original 6 Professor Layton games. You visit some locations from them, and there's a character here and there, which is a throwback, but overall, it definitely stands as its own thing, and unfortunately, did not have the quality that Professor Layton had been known for to that point. Originally released as a mobile game, and being available in individual chunks for you to buy, it's not a very cohesive game. Again, meant to just be a mobile thing played on the bus or whatever, and not like the Professor Layton stories we had come to know, where you get this really interesting and exciting and immersive story from beginning to end. That mobile game was eventually packaged up as a 3DS game, and then later on as a deluxe Switch edition. But unfortunately, again, this was not the Professor Layton's experience that many people had been hoping for. But now, with a new Professor Layton game coming out, it raises a lot of questions just how it might incorporate this Professor Layton's mystery journey into it. And don't forget that there was also a Katrielle Layton's Detective Agency anime released exclusively in Japan, a 50-episode anime, of which only 5 episodes were very important because they addressed that mystery started in the game in regards to just where Professor Layton was. And it turns out that in this anime, again, unfortunately, if you play through the whole game, you learn nothing about Professor Layton's whereabouts. It's just at the end again, they're like, oh, guess we never figured anything out about where he was. Whoopsie doodle, oh well. But finally, this anime comes out after. And it's unfortunately a just mystery of the week sort of thing. Very children oriented. It was just something shown Sunday mornings for kids to watch after they woke up. And each individual episode is just kind of its own thing. Something zany's going on in London. Katrielle figures it out. And that's it. Wrapped up into a neat little package. Never pretty much referenced again. But 5 of these episodes do relate to that mystery established in the game on just where Professor Layton was. And by the end of the series, they do actually find him, because it's important to note that the Katrielle mystery series takes place several years again after that ending of Unwound Future. And as a result of this, you would have to wonder, obviously Professor Layton's going to be older by this point. What's going to happen to Luke in that regard? Is he going to be older? They already did this in Unbound Future, but I guess they're going to be doing it again. And it turns out that Layton and Luke were actually kidnapped and placed in a time stasis, where once Katrielle finds them, they're essentially at an age where they haven't aged too significantly. Luke, however, is a bit older, but I won't get too deep into the details in that regard. You might want to actually look into, again, those 5 significant episodes of the Katrielle anime, because they're not too bad, but the other 45 can just be kind of packaged up and you don't really need to worry about them too much. But that raises the question then of, in this new Professor Layton game, just where are they going to take the series? Is it going to take place prior to the end of Unwound Future? Will they find a way to stick a new adventure in there somewhere? That way they don't need to reference the Katrielle sort of side of things at all, and somehow explain what happened in the anime that was never actually even localized. It was only released in Japan, and the only way that people outside of Japan can experience it is thanks to fan subbers. Will this game take place after the end of Unwound Future, but before this sort of time skip that places Layton and Luke in this time stasis, and even actually ages Luke a little bit again? So it'll be interesting to see just how old he is in this new game. Or will it take place after all of the Katrielle content that has been released to this point? After the game, after the anime, so Layton and Luke have been saved, and again, they're in that older state, and then that would be a way for them to incorporate all of these new characters that they introduced through the Katrielle series. The characters from the Layton Brothers mobile game are actually even referenced at the very end of the Katrielle anime series. So will they be incorporated as well? There are now all of these zany characters in the Layton universe that were not introduced through any of the 6 mainline Layton games, but were introduced through the spin-offs in the Katrielle series. So it will be really fascinating to see just how they might all be mixed in to a new Professor Layton game, assuming it takes place in the timeline as it was after all of the Katrielle content. But they could easily go back, stick this game into a more earlier part of the Layton timeline between one of the main 6 games, just shortly after Unwound Future, and then it would be a very easy way for them to not have to sort of reference all this new stuff that they made that just makes the series very, very convoluted. And most people have probably not really played every single Layton game to be released. So if they made a new Professor Layton game, Luke is like his 10-year-old-ish self again, Layton and all the other characters from the main series just kind of show up and act as if nothing has really happened in regards to that whole time skip, most people would probably not notice. Most people are probably going to pick up again this first mainline Layton game in 10 years and not think too much about just all of the story that had happened before it. They could, just kind of retcon it, but I would hope that they don't. But again, it will be really fascinating to see. My bet is that it does take place after all of the Katrielle content. So it will be interesting to see just how they incorporate older Luke into that. And all the time that has passed between when Layton was kidnapped and put into that time stasis. It would be really funny for Professor Chelmy to say, "Whoa, where have you been for like 15 years and such." So it'll be really cool to see just what they do with it. Unfortunately, these days I don't get too excited for a game. I'm always kind of skeptical until it comes out because games I've looked forward to before have come out and been a major letdown. Katrielle, unfortunately, being one of them. Although since it started out as a mobile game, I guess I shouldn't have had my hopes too high for that one in the first place. But let me know what you think down in the comments, especially to all you major Layton fans out there. Just how do you think they're going to take this? How do you think they're going to tackle it? Really, really cool, though, to see Layton's finally getting a new entry, and we'll definitely have to see how that goes, and it'll be fun to see when it's actually released. Will it be a later 2023 thing? Will it be into 2024? Lots to look forward to. But thanks again for checking out this video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you later for something different. So thanks, and take care.